why are the children of American liberals so miserable? So I've worked with children in about 20 countries. I've seen children in Ethiopia who, their parents would just hit them around the back of the legs with a stick and the children would run off laughing. I've worked with children in, many countries around the world. And the most miserable and also just sort of unpleasant children I work with were actually in Marin County. The children of American liberals seem to be particularly unhappy despite all this sort of emotional intelligence stuff. Why is that? The conservatively parented children seem to be actually happier.
Well,
not just better behaved, but happier.
Yes, and I don't think it has to do with the liberal or the conservative. I think it has to do,
definitely does. I've been around more children than most people.
Yes, and it has to do with our examination of our own embodiment. I really found that to be true for myself. So it has to do with the examination of when I feel, I'll give you the example of me. I did not want to be my mother, okay? Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a very conservative Southern home. I grew up in Mississippi, right? So I had a very conservative background, very punitive. I did not want to be that. So I flipped over to the other side where I did not want my daughter to feel what I felt. Why? I mean, they're feelings, right? But I didn't want her to feel what I felt. So I began to get way loose. I didn't set healthy boundaries. I didn't take care of myself. Right. I wanted her to be happy. So in that case, then you can see if I flip to the other side, what do you think my child's going to take on?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why the kids I've seen were so miserable, because they didn't have any I saw the same thing at the Buddhist festival in the UK. So people think I'm just being anti-American. With the kids of all these sort of super permissive Buddhists were not happy children. They weren't happy at all.
But it's not. I really want to let you know, it's not about setting boundaries on the child. Okay, in our culture, we say children need limits and boundaries. They will be limited and bound if we will set healthy boundaries. But we are so afraid to set healthy boundaries because we do not want to feel selfish, abandoning, and rejecting of the other. Okay, we go back to that codependent place again, right? I never wanted my child to feel abandoned and rejected. She was abandoned and rejected. She needed to feel those feelings in a healthy home, where that wasn't actually happening.
Disallowing of feelings is what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like if we have an erroneous belief that we can make someone feel a certain way, we're going to be in big trouble.
Right. So where did you learn about to sort of change something different then? Are there people teaching this stuff? Did you work it out the hard way? Like, how did you shift course there?
Well, I began, again, I'm a person that loves to examine things. So I created a process called the safe seat process for myself, because I noticed every time that my daughter said no, I would feel rejected and I sounded like my mother. I would go, well, I don't care about you anyway. Well, just forget it then. And these were all the things that I had heard my whole upbringing that I hated. So I created, I'm going to give you a metaphor. The reason I created it, do you have the game of tag in Europe?
Yeah. It has different names, but it's the one where you touch each other and then you're it, right?
Yeah, you chase each other and somebody chases you.
Different names, but we have the same game. Yeah.
So think about when you're 3 years old and you're playing the game of tag and you're running around and you're having a great time. It's the first time and you're really excited until somebody's about to tag you. And then what happens when you're 3? And you're about to get... You freak out, you lay down on the ground and you go, I quit, or you run off the field, or you hit the tagger because your amygdala, your brain, gets this signal that you're in danger. Okay, so in the game of tag, what do we create for the child?
Fun.
We create a safe base.
A safe base?
Safe base? Do you not have that in Europe?
Oh, is that a place you run back to and then you can't be tagged when you're on the base?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get what you mean. So you go there and you're fine, then you run out and it creates a way for them to calibrate stress and return back to that.
Exactly. So the safe base is a place where I can run over and I can breathe and I can go, oh, I'm actually not in danger. We look out and we go, oh, actually they're having fun out there. So then we run back out and we do this over and over and over again. That's how we build our regulatory system.
Right. We're in danger. Right? They go to their mom, they go to explore the world, and they get scared, they go back to their mom, they go back to the world.
Yes. But in parenting, we are getting tagged all the time. I was getting tagged. Every time my daughter said no and I felt rejected, I was getting tagged. So I wanted to like say, well, just forget it. Just like the kid, I wanted to walk off the field and say, I don't want to be a parent. I don't like this. I was doing all these crazy behaviors. So I thought, what would happen if I created a safe base, a safe seat for me to go and come back into my body, feel the sensations that are happening instead of going out here. So I began to sit and I would feel those sensations. It would be hot. It would be really hot in my body. I would be tight, but they weren't dangerous as an adult. Those sensations I could tolerate.
The safe seat is for the parent. Like
Yes.
you go away from the child and you leave them doing whatever they're doing in front of the TV or whatever. And then you go to yourself and you come back to your body and you notice your sensations.
Yes. And then you start going, oh, actually, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not in danger. Just like the kid at the base. Okay. I'm in danger. And so then I can look out and go, oh, my kid is just watching TV. They're not emotionally threatening me. They're not rejecting me. They're not making me feel powerless. They're not making me feel helpless. They're just watching TV. So if I want them not to watch TV from my adult stance now, I can get very creative. I can go sit down with them and find out what they're enjoying. I can move them to another activity. But if I'm emotionally triggered and I feel threatened by my child, that's that codependency again. If I'm attuned and now I feel threatened by them, I'm going to take them out. Because if you're threatened, just like the kid, they're going to either, run off the field or they're going to hit the tagger, they're going to fall down.
But isn't this just being a grown-up? I mean, like, to hear there's like a special safe seat, it sounds like a naughty step,
Well, when I was triggered,
grown-up shit, right? I mean, like,
yeah, but when I'm triggered, Mark, I'm not a grown-up.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not acting for that grown-up self.
Yes, so the safe seat was a place for me to go grow myself up.
Okay, well,
acting out as a child.
Yeah, because a child parenting another child isn't the best thing.
Well, it's not, because the child actually has the more power, because we're perceiving that the child is dangerous. So they have the more power. So it's not a safe situation. So I recognized, instead of acting out on my daughter, I needed to go and just take a moment, just go to my safe base, take my deep breath, come back into embodiment as an adult, not as a child. As a child, I couldn't tolerate that intensity. And then recognize that I am an adult and my child needs me. I don't need my child to change. My child needs me to be a safe person for them. I don't need my child to be safe for me as an adult. I'm
sure. The idea that you're threatened by a child, for me, is like bizarre. I mean, I've never been in that situation, so maybe I'm missing something here.
Emotionally, we're talking emotionally.
Yeah, I don't believe in the concept of emotional safety. It doesn't make any sense to me.
So let me give you an example. So if you're a child, if you've asked them, I know you don't have a child, but if you've asked someone to do something and you've asked them 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and they're just ignoring you.
The stressful and the control freak side of me comes up, for sure. I've been around many children in that situation.
So what do you start to feel?
Stressed. I wouldn't say I feel unsafe. It's just stress. It's just.
But do you start to feel powerless? Do you start to feel helpless? You can't get this person to listen to you, right? What do you start to feel like when you're like, I'm trying to get you to listen to me?
I've been in that situation of being frustrated with a child. I mean, that's part of dealing with working with kids,
But when you have that feeling, it is going to track back to that early time for you. When I feel powerless, it tracks back to when I felt powerless as a child. And then I act that out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that early childhood stuff can come up in any stressful situation. Yeah. Okay, let's get practical then. So what are your tips then for parents out there who are maybe relating to this? They're thinking, shut up, Mark, come on, just give something useful here.
I just did. I just gave
the
him
safe seat. The safe seat. So the safe seat is to go. And I guess obviously the child has to be left doing something, not playing with matches at the time or something, right?
Of course. I mean, that's a given. But the operative is you have to ignore the behavior, which is very hard in our culture because we're focused on the behavior. So you have to be willing to ignore the behavior unless it's dangerous. And then go grow yourself up in your safe seat. Then come back and take personal responsibility for what was my part. Why did my child slam the door? Why did they roll their eyes? Why did they hit me? I must have had a part in that. Was I pushing? Was I pulling? Was I forcing? Did I have an agenda? Was I powering over? what's my part?
So you sort your side of the street out. And that question can be quite useful. I have a friend of mine, she always used to ask, how old are you now, Mark?
Yes.
And it's like, I guess if you're in charge of kids and you've gone back into kid mode, it's probably best to walk away at that point and take a breather, you know?
Yes, and grow yourself up, just like the safe base. Just go back and go, oh, okay, that's all it is. I'm my brain. It's literally our brain feels threatened, right? Especially if we had a lot of threat as a child, right? So that body memory, we go to embodiment again. The body memory has a memory. When I start to feel powerless, my body goes, I'm 3 years old again and someone's overpowering me. Even though my mind goes, oh, I'm an adult and my child is 3, my body has a memory. You know this from embodiment.
Gosh, it's not a logical thing. Do you think that working with kids, being around kids, parenting kids, brings up some of our earlier stuff more than other stressors? For example, you know, you could be annoyed that someone stole your parking place, right? But like, is there a way in which kids particularly bring out our own early childhood stuff, would you say?
Yes, because we're paralleling. I mean, we're going to see ourselves, right? We're going to try to treat them how we were treated. And also we have a belief that we should have power over them. We have a belief that we are the parent. Like I like to say, my daughter didn't get the memo that she was supposed to come down here and make me happy or behave the way I needed her to behave so I wouldn't feel discomfort.
So yeah, I get that idea that they might not, you know, you said a 2-year-old works this out very quickly, don't they? They go, well, hang on a minute, you know, like, you know, what do you mean you're in charge? What do you mean no? You know, that's almost an affront to everything a 2-year-old is. And there's a way in which, particularly when I've been in the States, it's like a lot of people, particularly the sort of liberal side of things, have forgotten that they're the parents and they are the one in charge. And that natural order has somehow, there's an attempt to flatten a natural hierarchy because there is a healthy hierarchy between a parent and a child.
Well, but again, even when we go into the belief, first of all, that we have to, that we can let our child or not let our child do something, even when we take that stance, we aren't seeing another, actually, we're not seeing our position of that. What an honor that we get to lay the ground for another human being, right? We have to understand child development. We have to understand embodiment is really messy. It's really intense for children. How can a little tiny body take on, like, think about if you have a new baby and you take it to a rock concert, right? Because you love rock concerts. And this little baby's body is just like reverberating with the sound, right? So when we don't understand that a little baby, if that happens, is going to start screaming and crying, and then you're going to get mad at it because the people next to you want the baby to be quiet. And, you know, it's like if we don't understand the embodiment process of a child and how messy it is, we are going to overpower. We're going to see that as a threat. We're going to see that as, you know, like you're doing something to me.
Yeah, and that personal responsibility piece makes a lot of sense to me, and you know, not holding a child responsible for your feelings and emotions is sounds like basic sort of emotional hygiene to me. So you know, that makes sense to me.
But it's hard. It's difficult. Who wants to feel discomfort? When you think you can control your child, it feels so easy. If we think our child caused that discomfort, doesn't it sound easier to control them than to work with our discomfort? Right? So,
I mean, that's parallel to many situations in life, isn't it? But yeah, okay. So